We are in Maseches Makkos. We are on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph.
All right.
At the 2 dots. English is okay? English? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Simane Rabbanan Mahamne V'Sifri. 8 lines down. Pligi ba Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanan Chad Omer Mipnei Sheshihem v'Chad Omer Mipnei Shehin Shel Torah. So we said yesterday that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke harshly to Yehoshua bin Nun. And we said, why did he speak harshly? So yesterday we assumed like the second shot, because this is Shel Torah. These are words about the Ari Mikla, which were brought in the Torah, and therefore he's going to speak harsher, Vayidaber. Another interpretation, is really the first interpretation, is because Yehoshua stopped and he didn't set up the Ari Mikla right away when they went into Eretz Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was a little bit quote-unquote upset that they didn't set up the Ari Mikla as soon as they were mechalik the land. Then the pasuk says, while we're talking about Yehoshua, Vayichtov Yehoshua es hadvarim ha'ela b'sefer Toras Elohim. Yehoshua wrote these words in the Sefer of Toras Elohim. Now, what exactly does that mean? So, Pligi bar Rav Yehuda v'Rab Nechemia. Chad amar shmona psukim. One says it means that he wrote b'sefer Toras Elohim, literally he wrote the last 8 psukim of the Torah. V'chad amar Ari Miklat. That when he says that he wrote in the Sefer Toras Elohim, he wrote the Ari Miklat in Yehoshua. Bishlama laman de amar chep psukim hainu dichli b'sefer Toras Elohim. The one who says that he wrote the last 8 psukim of the Torah, it makes sense that it says that he wrote in the Sefer Toras Elohim. Literally, he wrote in the Sefer Torah that will be called the Sefer Torah for all generations. If it's just that he wrote the Parsha of Ari Miklat in Yehoshua, why does it call that the Sefer Torah Elohim? Hachi kamar. Vayichtov Yehoshua bisifro. He wrote in Yehoshua es hadvarim ha'ela haksuvim b'sefer Torah Elohim. The things that had already been written in the Sefer Torah, i.e. in the 5 books of Moses, i.e. the Parshiot of Ari Miklat. Fine. While we're talking about Sifrei Torah, we have a little tangent. Sefer Shetafru b'Pishtam Pligi bar Rav Yehuda v'Rabbi Meir. Sefer Torah that is tofer with linen. That means that when you have the amudim of the Sefer Torah, you have the actual pages of the Sefer Torah, the parchment, so they're kept together. How are they kept together? So ours are kept together with gidim. They're kept together with pieces of gidim, sinews from the animals. But according to this man de Amar, you can actually have pishtan. You can have them with linen. Chadamar kosher v'chadamar pasul. And we see that we paskin it's pasul. Leman di amar pasul, the one who says it's pasul to use linen dichsiv leman tia Toras Hashem beficha. Because the pasuk by tefillin says v'haya lecha la'os al yadcha u'lezikaron beineinecha leman tia Toras Hashem beficha. So there's a hakesh between a Sefer Torah and tefillin. And what do we know from halacha l'Moshe misinai v'idkash kol ha'Torah kula tefillin? Ma tefillin halacha l'Moshe misinai l'tofran begidin av kol l'tofran begidin. It's interesting. So we don't have halacha l'Moshe misinai. They have to be tofer the actual parts of a Sefer Torah with gidin. We have halacha l'Moshe misinai. You have to be tofer the tefillin with gidin. And therefore, since we have a hakesh between tefillin and Sefer Torah, once we know that by tefillin you have to be tofer the parshios begidin, so too you have to be tofer by Sefer Torah. So they make a hakesh. V'idach ki iskash l'mutar beficha le'chosav lo itkash. The other opinion says you're right. We make a hekesh. You can't argue with that. That's in the psukim. But when we make a hekesh in general, we don't compare every single thing. When I make a hekesh between me and you, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything from me is going to apply to you. It's that certain things will apply. What's going to apply? He says that the gidin will not apply. What will apply? The thing that the pasuk says. The pasuk says what? Leman tia Toras Hashem beficha. What's beficha in your mouth? So it's a play on the word beficha lemutar beficha. What does it mean lemutar beficha? We know that the Sefer Torah needs to be written on kosher animal parchment. It needs to be parchment from a kosher animal. That's the hekesh that we're going to make. We're going to make the hekesh just like tefillin needs to be written on kosher parchment, Sefer Torah needs to be written on kosher parchment at all. We're not going to go so far to say that just like the tefillin needs to have gidin, the Sefer Torah needs gidin as well.
It's a kosher animal after it's shechted.
A regular kosher animal you take.
That's where, but after it's shechted, that's where they get the.
You could use the meat to eat, and then you take the leather, you take the thing for the Torah scrolls. Correct. And that has to be for tefillin and for Sefer Torah. According to the other man, Amar, you need to have the gidin to be the same as well, and that's how we pass in Alach L'Maisa, that you have to take the sinews from the thing. 1 second. Amar Rav says, Chazinu l'tefillin debei Chabibi. Chabibi means my uncle. I saw the tefillin of my uncle, the tefirei bekinta. He used linen to actually keep the parshas together and to keep the tefillin together. Less hilchasa kavasei. And the halacha is not like him, and you have to actually use gidin to keep the parshas together. And seemingly by our tefillin as well, you see that you have the actual things that go to keep the boxes together. So we use gidin for those as well. Yes.
No, change.
Okay. Zok the Mishnah. we know that we said that when a Kohen Gadol dies, just say it outside for a second, when a Kohen Gadol dies, so the Rotzeach, everybody goes free. Now, there were different types of Kohen Gadols. First of all, as Rashi tells us, until the times of Yoshiyahu HaMelech, the Kohen Gadols were anointed with the Shemen HaMishcha, with the oil. Then when Yoshiyahu was Melech, so they went ahead and they put it aside. They were afraid that the enemies were going to get the oil, so they put it aside and they were gonies it. After Yoshiyahu Melech, they didn't anymore, they no longer appointed the Kohen Gadol with the oil. They would just appoint him, and then you would know that he was a Kohen Gadol when he had the extra begadim, when he had the 8 begadim. So there was a Kohen Gadol, really two types, really different generations. One Kohen Gadol that was anointed with oil, pre-Yoshiyahu, and then the Kohen Gadol who just became Kohen Gadol with the begadim after Yoshiyahu. In addition to that,
did you say why they stopped?
I think they wanted to be gones. They were afraid that the enemies were going to get the Shemen HaMishcha, that they were going to get the oil, so they were gones it. They put it aside. Now, that's one Kohen Gadol, again, really two for our purposes, but one Kohen Gadol each in another generation. Then there's another Kohen Gadol in both generations, when the Kohen Gadol would become pasul, so they would have an interim Kohen Gadol. But when the Kohen Gadol then would be done with his psul, again, if he was pasul forever, obviously, we're talking about if he becomes pasul, he becomes tameh. After he's done with his psul, when he becomes tahor again, the interim Kohen Gadol now steps down, and the Kohen Gadol goes back.
Like you,
the Gemara is going to say, I'm not an interim, what are you talking about? I'm not interim, I'm the associate rabbi, that's it. I never become the rabbi. We're on tape, I never become the rabbi, not on tape. Okay, says the Gemara, that Lamaisa, what do you have? When you have the interim Kohen Gadol. So when the interim Kohen Gadol steps down, the Mishnah is going to tell us that Kohen Gadol is added to the pile. That means now he's done. If he dies, he's also the interim Kohen Gadol. After he stepped down, if he dies, he also is going to set everybody free. So now we have two Kohen Gadol setting everybody free. So it's really three, but it's two. And then there's a fourth Kohen Gadol, according to Rabbi Yehuda. We have another Kohen Gadol who's the Kohen Gadol Mashuach Milchama. When they go to Milchama, the 3rd/4th. Again, depending on the generations. It's really, if you count all the generations, it's a 4th, but per generation there would be 3. There would be Yoshiyahu's time and this time, either Mashuach with the Shemen or just the Begadim. On top of that, in both generations, you'd have the interim Kohen Gadol. If he died, then everybody would go free. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the Mashuach Melchama, if the Kohen Gadol that was in charge of the rounding up the troops and getting the troops to be excited for war, if he dies, then they would also go free. But that's a machlokes. So it's either 3 or 4, i.e. 2 or 3 per generation. Says the Gemara, that's the interim machzirin as harotzeach. If any of them die, they're machzir rotzeach. Rabbi Yehuda adds, Omer af mashuach melchama machzir es harotzeach. Leficha, the famous idea, imoseihen shel kohanim misap goslan milchyo v'chesus kadesh lispalo abanem sheyamusu. After the 7:30 minyan every day, the mothers of the Kohen Gadol would go and they would give food to all the people in the 7:30 minyan, so that one of the mishaberachs that they make on Monday and Thursday will not be mishaberach avosenu that the Kohen Gadol should die.
Right.
Because otherwise they're going to make a mishriach that the Kohen Gadol should die. Right. So in order to keep the people happy, they would give them food, they would give them clothing, and then they'll be happy to stay in the Yer Mikla with this Kohen Gadol as long as the Kohen Gadol's mother is taking care of them. But as soon as she stops giving them stuff, they're going to start davening that the Kohen Gadol should die.
It was similar to David yesterday. Remember when they said, everyone wants me to die, David said.
Yes. Zag the Gemara, Minah Nimili, Amar of Kahana, where do you see 3 or 4? Amar of Kahana, Damar Krava Yeshiv Ba, V'yashav Ba'ad Mosa Kohen HaGadol. It says that you stay there till the Kohen Gadol die 3 times. So you have 3 times for those 3 different ones. The one in time of Yoshia, the one after Yoshia, and the interim Kohen Gadol in all generations. For Rabbi Yehuda, where's the 4th time? He doesn't say HaKohen HaGadol, but it says again, you stay there. So 4 times it says you stay in the Yer Mikla until the Kohen dies. The Idach, the one who says that the Mashuach Milchama will not be included, and that if he dies, people will not go free, Midelo Ksiv HaGadol. Since the last pasuk doesn't say HaGadol, Chad Mehanachu. It's one of the other 3, and therefore the Mashuach Milchama is not counted. But again, that's the Machlokes. So the Gemara now is going to discuss what's the default. Is the default that the Kohanim are going to die, or is the default that Kohanim are not going to die? So according to the first understanding, the Kohanim are not going to die by default, but if the Rotzchim daven for them to die, then they're going to die. And according to the second understanding that we'll see, the default is that the Kohanim Gedolim are going to die, and they're only not going to die if the Rotzchim actually go ahead and daven for them. So it's a matter of, do we have to just keep them from davening against them, or do we mamish have to encourage them to daven for the Kohen Gadol? That sounds like Pashup Shad is that they will not die if the people don't daven against them, but if they would daven against the Kohen Gadol, then they would die, and that's why the mothers would treat them nicely. Says Gemara, I don't understand. We know that the klala of a regular person, the klala for no reason or of a regular person, does not come to fruition. So why are we worried about the klalos of these rodschim dying? The Kohen Gadol seemingly did nothing wrong, so why should we care so much? Okay, so let the Kohanim, so let the rodschim daven. They're rodschim after all. Why are the Kohen Gadol's mother so concerned that if rodschim are going to daven, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to listen to their klala? Says Gemara, Amar Husaba, Mipirke Rav Shmuel Ishayelen Levakesh Rachman Adoran Velo Bikshu. This wasn't just a stam klala. This was a klala that the Kohen Gadol actually deserves. Why does he deserve it? Because Lemaisa, he should have davened for his generation. He's held responsible, as we know, many leaders held responsible for their generation. He should have davened for his generation that there should not be any killers, even b'shogeg. And the fact that there were killers b'shogeg, we have a little bit of a taina on the Kohen Gadol, to the point that now, even if rodschim daven for him to die, Lemaisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu will listen.
They blame the whole town.
Yeah, in a chanami.
You should have watched.
In a chanami. Ve'ika demasne. Others learn the opposite, or not the opposite, but even further. Kadeshi ispala b'neim shelo yamusu. That the default was taima dematsu halo matsu maise. Here, according to this way of learning, the default was that they were going to die, and we needed them to actively go ahead and make a mishaberach that they should live. My havalei lemevad. What should they have done? So now the Gemara is going to say similarly, but hachamrinan. First, it's going to give a mashal that this makes no sense. The Kohen Gadol is going to die. This is before we give the answer that they should have davened. But in the first case, in the Havamina, the Kohen Gadol is going to die. That's like saying Tuvya chet v'zigud mangid. There was a story, as Rashi quotes, that Tuvya did a sin, and this person Zigud came and he testified against Tuvya. Tuvya really did a sin, and the aide came, and then he got Malchus for coming. Says that's crazy. Why would he get Malchus? The Gemara there explains why did he get Malchus? Because we know that you need two edim in order to go ahead and testify in order to be believed. So the Rav over there, Rav Papa, said that you're being motzi shemra. Since you by yourself are not going to be able to accomplish anything anyway, you shouldn't come and testify. But again, the Gemara by default is saying that, is it fair to give, even if he comes by himself, is it fair to give a guy who's testifying truthfully, is it fair to give him Malchus? We don't. That's not the halacha that we give him Malchus. Rav Papa went and said, we're going to give you Malchus. That's not the halacha.
You come, maybe a guy comes a day.
Yeah, and another guy comes.
So he's saying, Einachanami. So that's why, again, Rav Papa's reasoning was, you shouldn't have come, you should have waited. Where the Gemara is saying, he was a little bit strict. And therefore, it's not fair that this guy does a sin and this guy gets Malchus. Hasam Ramrei, similarly, Shchem Nasiv, Umigbain Gazir. Shchem sins with Dinah, and now the whole city has to go ahead and get a bris milah. That's not fair. So why over here is a Kohen Gadol getting punished for other people killing? Says the Gemara, Amar Husaba Mipirke de Rav Shmueli, Shayilan Levakesh Rachman Adoran Velo Bikshu. Again, just another, this was a little bit more of an intro, but Lamaisa, he's saying that they should have davened. So that's why the Kohanim are held accountable, because they should have davened. Kihada Ugavar da Achle Aryeh Berachuk Tlasa Parsim Minei Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi was here, and 3 parses away, a lion ate a person. And Rabbi Shua ben Levi used to have a chavrusa with Eliyahu and Navi every day. But Eliyahu blamed him for the death 3 parsos away, i.e., Rabbi Shua ben Levi should have davened that everybody in his area should be safe. And Lamaisa, he refused to learn with him for 3 days. But you see again the idea, the responsibility of the leaders of the generation to go ahead and daven for the generation. And if they don't, then Lamaisa, they're held accountable. Amar Yudam Rav. Kilalos chacham afilu bechinam hiba. Once we're talking about klalos, so if a chacham makes a klala, it sounds like a regular person makes a klala, it won't come true unless there's a reason for it to come true, like the Kohen Gadol. But by a chacham, it goes even to a higher level. If a chacham gives a klala, even if the klala doesn't come true, or even if it's not meant to be, it still comes true. What does that mean? Minalan me Achitofel. Who was Achitofel? He was David's right-hand man. Shebesha shakara David shitin kapet tahoma ba lemishbeta le'alma. We know, we're told that David HaMelech started to dig in the foundation of the Beis HaMikdash, and when he did so, he found a stone that was covering a hole. And the stone said, don't remove me, because I've been here since the days of Matan Torah when the whole world started to shake. And David HaMelech removed the stone anyway, and the waters from underneath the world started to come up and were ready to flood the entire world. So Amar, so David said, Mahu lichtov Shem HaChaspa. Can I write Shem Hashem on a piece of shard? Umishta b'tahom, and can I throw it into the hole or on top of the hole? Deleku aduchte, that the water will not come up and flood the world. Leka damar le'midi. Who's going to answer David HaMelech's question? Nobody. So Amar, David HaMelech said, Kol ayodea davar zev ve'eno omro yechanek begrono. Anybody who knows the answer and doesn't tell me will get chanek, will be hung by his goren, by his throat. Nasa Achitofel kavachomer. Achitofel was a smart guy and he made a kavachomer ba'atzmo. Amar umala so shalom binish liishto amar Torah shmisha nechta b'kedusha yimchel amayim l'chol ha'olam kulo lo kol shekain. We take the shame of Hashem and we put it into water and we basically ruin it in order to test the sota. If we're willing to do so with the shame Hashem to keep shalom bayis between a man and a wife, for sure we're willing to take the Shem Hashem and put it onto a rock or onto a piece of shard and throw it on top of the water. Amar le Shari, so he went to David and said, you can do it. Kasav Shem Achas b'shadi atahoma nachas v'kama duchte. Perfect, everything worked out. The story is good. Everybody lived happily ever after. What's the problem? That David HaMelech had cursed anyone who doesn't tell him. And when a chacham curses somebody who doesn't tell him, even if the guy ends up telling him, sometimes the condition of a chacham, even if the condition is met, sometimes the klala of a chacham will still go through. Later on in the story, Achitovel saw that they weren't listening to his eitzah vis-a-vis David HaMelech. There's a whole discussion also. It sounds like he's committing suicide, but at the end of the day, he told his people to hang him. So even though at the end of the day, David HaMelech's klala, the condition of the klala didn't come true, since when it comes out of the mouth of a chacham, even when the condition doesn't come true sometimes, the klala will still come true. Amar Rabbi Abo, kilas chachma filu al tanai hiba. The klala of a chachma, even on condition, comes. The truth is that it's very similar. I don't really know exactly the difference. I mean, the other one was also on condition. But let's see exactly on condition. Again, the Gemara is learning that it's a little bit of a different story, but it seems like David HaMelech was also on condition. I'm only going to give the klala to the person who doesn't tell me the answer. So similarly, another thing, Sak the Gemara, even if the Tanai is not Mekayim, Minalan Me'eli. It means one can argue, I think what the Gemara is saying is that one can argue that by Achitofel, one can argue that David HaMelech says anybody who doesn't tell me will get chenek. Now it could be that he waited and he hesitated, and therefore he didn't really tell him, but he ended up telling him anyway, so Lamaisa he got chenek. Eli said to Shmuel, if you hide anything from me, so Lamaisa, what happened to me is going to happen to you. What happened to Eli? His children weren't such good children. If you hide anything from me, then your children will become bad children as well. And even though Shmuel ended up telling him everything, because again, Eli, who made a klala which had a tanai, even though the tanai was met, even though he ended up telling him everything, similar to the story of Achitofel, even though he ended up doing what he was supposed to, Lamaisa, the klala of a chacham comes true anyway sometimes. Amar Yehuda Marav. Similarly, nidoy al tanai. If you throw somebody into excommunication or into exile on a condition, sarech hafara. That means even if the condition is met, if you do this, you will go into exile. If you don't do this, you will not go into exile, or vice versa. Even if he does what he's supposed to, it's possible that he will still go into exile if there's no hafara. Where do we see this? Minalan mi Yehuda. The what? Hafara is a nomit. Minalan mi Yehuda dechsev imlo heviyosi ve'lacha. By Yehuda it says, if I don't bring to you. Ve'amar Shmuel bar Nechayin amar Yonas, and my dechsev, what does it mean? Yechi Ruvain v'ayamos v'zos liYehuda. It talks about Reuven and then Yehuda. Kol osan memshana. We know that not only did Yosef's bones comes out of Mitzrayim, but all of the Shvatim came out of Mitzrayim. However, the Gemara tells us that for those 40 years here, Yisrael b'midbar atzmosav shel Yehuda yimagalgalin ba'aron. They had all of the coffins, and they were all quiet, except for Yehuda's coffin. The bones kept rattling in the coffin. So Amar Elfanav, he said, Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, why is Yehuda being punished? Mi garam li Reuven sheyoda Yehuda. Now, what happens? Why was he being punished? Moshe understood, based on the pasuk we said before, Imlo heviyosi ve'lecha. What did Yehuda say to Yaakov Avinu? He says, if I don't bring Binyamin back to you, you can throw me into exile. You can put me into Nidoy. So therefore, what we see here, this is what the Gemara is proving, is that even though Lamaisa, he brought Binyamin alive, at the end of the day, since this condition, since this Nidoy al Tanai, this excommunication on condition, even when the condition was met, unless the actual excommunication is Mayfair, unless you annul it, it still stands. And therefore, the Gemara is learning that his bones kept rattling even though the condition was met until the actual excommunication was made for, until it was annulled by Moshe Rabbeinu. Even though the condition was met, he was still going to suffer with the excommunication. How do you excommunicate somebody after they die? The way the Gemara is saying, his bones rattle, he doesn't go into Gan Eden, as we say. Let's see. So Moshe Rabbeinu says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, come on, give him a break. At the end of the day, Reuven stole the bed of Yaakov and put it into his mother Leah from Bilhah. Who did that? Who caused Reuven to admit it? Yehuda. Ribon shel amigaram Reuven sheyoda Yehuda. V'zos liYehuda Sham Hashem kol Yehuda. Al ivrei lisafa. So he said, so what happened? So when he said, V'zos liYehuda Sham Hashem kol Yehuda, so it sounds like, again, the Gemara doesn't say this, but it sounds like once he told them, Migaram liYehuda sheyoda Yehuda, it sounds like maybe the bone stopped rattling. Unclear. But it says that, Lamaisa, this is his taina. Again, it doesn't clearly say in the Gemara that he had a hafara, but it sounds like HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to be meifir this excommunication. So he said, Yehuda did something right by telling Reuven that he should admit. What does it mean in the pasuk that Hashem heard the kol Yehuda, al ivrei l'safa? As Moshe is talking, Hashem puts the bones back into their sockets. He puts the joints back into their sockets. He reconnects the skeleton of Yehuda. They still wouldn't let Yehuda into the Mesifta Dirakia. They wouldn't let him into the base medrash in Gan Eden. Ve'elamo tivienu. So he says, Ve'elamo tivienu, you should bring him into the Amo. So then they brought him into Amo. Lohava kayada lemishkal lemitra b'shmaita b'adi rabbanan yadav ravlo. So he still couldn't go ahead, and Moshe Rabbeinu knew everything that was going on. Yehuda is now in the yeshiva Shamala, and he still can't answer. He still can't have a shakla v'tarya with the people up there. So it says yadav ravlo. Moshe davens that he should have a lot of yadav. He should be able to have a shakla v'tarya with them. And Hashem listens. We'll have a yadav lepruke kushya ve'ezeh mitzarav tiyeh. He couldn't answer the kasha that they asked him. So Moshe Rabbeinu davens ve'ezeh mitzarav tiyeh, and now he's able to answer the kasha. So basically, what we see here is that a hafara al tanai is that Nidoy al Tanai still needs hafara, and in the case of Yehuda, Moshe Rabbeinu, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Moshe Rabbeinu, finally gave him the hafara after 40 years of being in the midbar. Fascinating story. Zok the Gemara, Ibayalahu, b'mitas kulan hu chozer or dilma b'mitas echad mehen. So the Gemara says we mentioned 3/4, or in each generation 2/3 Kohanim Gedolim. So the question is, do they all have to die? Good luck. Do they all have to die? Or if one of them dies, it's enough. So first the Gemara learns, Tashman nigmar dino below Kohen Gadol ena yotze misham la'olam. We'll explain this in just a second in the Mishnah. But if the guy is sentenced without a Kohen Gadol, he never goes out. Vim isa lihadar b'dahanach. If you can go free with any of them, then you should go free. That even if he's sentenced, the Gemara at this point is assuming that he was sentenced without a Kohen Gadol in the Mikdash. But there was a Kohen Gadol who was Mashuach Milchama, or there was an interim Kohen Gadol. And yet we see that if one of them dies, he doesn't go free. It sounds like they all have to die. Says the Gemara, no, b'doleka. It means that when there's only one Kohen and he's not there, then Lamaisa you will not go free. That means that really only one has to die. B'doleka, when there is no Kohen Gadol, that means there's no Kohen Gadol at all, then Nigmar Dino Eino Yotzei Misham La'olam. We'll explain what this means in just a second. Fine. Now we're going to say the following again. Pasha case, you kill somebody, you go to the Miklat, there's a Kohen Gadol who's serving. Lamaisa, when he dies, you go free. He doesn't die, he's a young Kohen Gadol, you're in trouble, you're going to be in the Miklat the rest of your life. But now there's a whole discussion, as we know in Gemara, there's always a discussion about everything. So now what happens if, again, you go to court, and now they sentence you to the Ir Miklat. And now the Kohen Gadol dies, before you actually went into the Ir Miklat. Or let's say the Kohen Gadol dies after you kill, or even before you kill, and at the time, let's say it takes them a week or 2 weeks for re-elections of the Kohen Gadol. Lamaisa, what happens if there's no Kohen Gadol at the time that you're actually sentenced? So now you're in trouble. Because what did we say? We said that you go free when the Kohen Gadol dies. Well, which Kohen Gadol? If the Kohen Gadol, if you go into the Ir Miklat, we would think that if you go into the Ir Miklat, whoever the Kohen Gadol is, whenever he comes, he dies. No. There needs to be a Kohen Gadol at the time that you're sentenced. And if there's no Kohen Gadol at the time that you're sentenced, you're in trouble, because then there's nobody connected to you. And even if a Kohen Gadol is appointed 2 weeks later, he's not connected to you. And now when he dies, it has no shaykhs to you, and Lamaisa, you're stuck in the Ir Miklat the rest of your life. So you have to have, for your luck hopefully, you have to have a Kohen Gadol who is serving as a Kohen Gadol at the time that Nigmar Dino, at the time that you are sentenced, there needs to be a Kohen Gadol, and that Kohen Gadol will be the Kohen Gadol who will be connected to you. So let's see it inside now. Misha Nigmar Dino Meis Kohen Gadol. Let's say there's a Kohen Gadol, and you're Nigmar Dino, but you haven't yet gone to the Ir Miklat. It takes 2 days to go, to transfer you, or to walk there. Now the Kohen Gadol dies, hareza ein agol. You don't even have to go to the Ari Miklat. Because as the Gemara is going to say, if a guy's in the Ari Miklat, he's going to go free. Then somebody who's on his way to the Ari Miklat for sure is going to go free. He's not even there yet. The Gemara will say, that's a lucky guy. Im ad shelo nigmar dino meis Kohen Gadol. But let's say that the Kohen Gadol dies before you were sentenced. Now you're in trouble because umanu acher tachta, but now you're lucky also because now they put somebody else, because if they would sentence you when the Kohen Gadol was dead and there was nobody else, now you're stuck forever. But now they went ahead and they appointed another guy, ula achar miken nigmardino, then you're nigmardino, choseh ben misas sheni. Again, you go, that's the general rule, you go based on the Kohen Gadol who was there at the time that you were nigmardino. Nigmardino below Kohen Gadol, if you're nigmardino without a Kohen Gadol, v'hahore Kohen Gadol, or if you kill a Kohen Gadol, and Rashi clearly says it's not a pshat in killing a Kohen Gadol. You're killing the Kohen Gadol b'shogeg. The point is that you kill a Kohen Gadol and you're sentenced before they appoint another Kohen Gadol. But if you kill a Kohen Gadol b'shogeg and they appoint another Kohen Gadol before you're sentenced, then in a chanami you will have a Kohen Gadol that's going to be attached to you. The Kohen Gadol shaharag, or a Kohen Gadol who kills b'shogeg and now he's in the Yer Miklat and they haven't yet appointed another Kohen Gadol instead of him. Eino yotzei misham la'olam. Again, using our general rule or a specific rule, as long as there's a Kohen Gadol when you're sentenced, you're good to go. Ve'eno yotzei lo le'edus mitzvah lo le'edus mamva lo le'edus nefashos. We never let you leave. Obviously, if you leave, you choose to leave on your own accord. They can kill you. But Lamaisa, we don't give an exemption and say, okay, the guy is safe and he can leave to go testify. Whether it's testifying for a mitzvah, what would that be? That would be like Kiddush Levana, v'lo le'edus mamon, or they need you for a court case, v'lo le'edus nefashos. Even if they need you to testify about somebody else who's being tried for murder, you're not allowed to leave the Ari Miklat. Now, we said that there are beit-dinim in the Ari Miklat. Seemingly, if there's a beit-din in the Ari Miklat and it's happening in your Ari Miklat, you can go ahead and testify. You're not a puzzle aid. But Lamaisa, we're saying that you don't have an exemption to be able to leave the Ari Miklat. You can leave on your own risk, but there's no exemption to leave. Va'afilu Yisrael tzrichlo, even if the entire Jewish people need you, va'afilu tzar tzva Yisrael ki Yoav ben Tzuruya, eino yotzei misham la'olam. It doesn't matter even if you're the biggest general. We don't let you out of jail to say, oh, I'm the biggest general, they need me. Shenemar asher nashama, you have to run there. Sham tehei diraso, that's where you have to live. And if the Kohen Gadol doesn't die, sham tehei mitaso, sham tehei kfuraso. Just like the city gives you protection, so to the tchum, 2,000 amos outside the city. That means that when we say that the guy can kill you, you have a right to be able to wander a little bit outside. I wouldn't take a chance if I was a rotzeach, but you have a right to wander up to 2,000 amos outside of the city. Let's say you go outside of the tchum, outside of the city, and the Goel Adam finds you. So for sure he could kill you. The question is it a mitzvah or is it allowed? And can anybody else kill you as well? Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer, mitzvah biad Goel Adam, or reshus biad kol Adam. Fascinating. Actually, everybody can kill you. We passing like Rabbi Akiva, who Omer reshus biad Goel Adam. It's not a mitzvah for the Goel Adam. He doesn't have to kill you, but he has the right to kill you. V'chol Adam chayav v'nalav. But nobody else has the right to kill you. Only the Goel Adam. You asked me yesterday. I believe that the Goel Adam, as we were saying, is the closest relative in the line. So Goel Adam would be the closest relative of those who like mourn, etc.
The brother.
So only the closest relative can kill?
The brother, the husband.
Sounds like it.
Usually, those are the two.
Sounds like the Goel Adam can kill, and again, nobody else is allowed to kill.
So if someone does not
Son
go to
to
the city of refuge, then anyone can kill them? Like this.
According to Rabbi Yosef Glili, according to Rabbi Akiva.
I'm saying in general, we're saying if the Kohen Gadol died, so now he doesn't have to go. Is that good or is that bad?
That's good. If the Kohen Gadol dies, then he's basically as if he got out of jail, and now nobody's allowed to kill him.
No one's allowed to.
The Goel Adam is only allowed to kill him when he's supposed to be in the Yer Miklat. He's supposed to be in the Yer Miklat, and he comes out, then the Kohen Gadol can kill him. But if he's free from the Yer Miklat, because the Kohen Gadol dies, then the Goel Adam can no longer kill him. Goel Adam can only kill him when he's supposed to be in the Yer Miklat.
One person. That's
Sounds like it. Again, we haven't discussed it, but it sounds like it.
Goel Adam can be a female.
Yes.
Yeah, why not? What's the problem?
Okay, no problem.
My timer. What's the reason? What's the reason that what? What's the reason that a Kohen, what's the reason that the guy who was sentenced and then the Kohen Gadol dies, what's the reason that he doesn't have to go to the Miklat? Rabbi Kal v'chomer. Uma misha gola kfar yatsa achshav, misha lo gola enu din shelo yigla. The guy who's there goes free. The guy that hasn't even gone there yet, we're not going to make him pay gas to go. V'dil mahai de gola ichbar lehai de lo gola lo. The Gemara has a suggestion, no, maybe the reason that the guy who's there already goes free is because he got kapara from being in the Yer Miklat. The Kohen Gadol is just this means of getting out, but he needs the kapara of being in the Yer Miklat in order to be freed. This guy who's never been in the Yer Miklat, maybe when the Kohen Gadol dies before he's gone there, he will not go free. Says the Gemara, no. Mide galus kamakapar. You think that the city is giving him the kapara? Mitas Kohen u'temachapar. The way that the Torah set it up is that once the Kohen dies, he doesn't have to have been in the city. Lamaisa, Kohen Gadol dies, even if he hasn't been in the city yet, obviously he has to be sentenced. The worst thing for you is if the Kohen Gadol dies right before you're sentenced, then you're going to be stuck maybe forever. Sak the Gemara, imachalo nigmardino. So where do you see this? That if until the dino is not done, the Kohen Gadol dies, then depending on whether they appoint another one or not. Minan Emili Amrav Kahana Damar Kraviyasha Ba'ad Mos HaKohen HaGadol Asher Matach Oto B'Shemen HaKodesh. Where do we see this? Because it says that you stay there till the Kohen Gadol dies, that you were Moshech with the Shemen HaKodesh. Yeah. What do you mean? V'chihu Moshcha? We don't all go ahead and be Moshech. It doesn't mean you were Moshech. Elazeh Nimshach B'Yamav. It means the person that was Nimshach B'Yamav. What does it mean, B'Yamav? After you were convicted of being a killer. So whoever is the Kohen Gadol at the time that you are convicted of being a killer, that's the Kohen Gadol that's going to be connected to you. My Havalei Lamevad. So now the Gemara is asking something very interesting. That means I understand if there was one Kohen Gadol the entire time, right? There was one Kohen Gadol the entire time. So Lamaisa, when you're convicted and you get thrown into the Yer Miklat, I understand why you're connected to him, because he should have davened that you shouldn't kill. But let's say there was a Kohen Gadol at the time that you killed, and then he dies. And now another Kohen Gadol is appointed after you killed, but before you're sentenced. And now you're sentenced. We said you're connected to that Kohen Gadol. What did that Kohen Gadol do wrong? He wasn't the Kohen Gadol at the time that you killed somebody. Says the Gemara, "My havalei lemeved hayilo levakesh rachmim sheyigmor dino l'schus v'lo bikesh." Why is he connected to you, and why is he held accountable? Because he should have davened that even though you had killed already, he should have davened that your court case will come out l'schus, that they won't find you guilty. Of course he'll know about it. He knows all the people that are being tried. He should have davened that l'maisa you should have been found totally innocent, to be honest, and not to be found shogeg. Fascinating. Amar Abaye, Naktinan. We have
so this guy wasn't anointed yet.
This guy, we're talking about a guy, the Kohen Gadol who was anointed, and then you killed and you were sentenced. Obviously, he's responsible for you. Should have davened for you. We're saying anointed. Even the Kohen Gadol that was anointed after you killed, but before you were sentenced. Because again, the Kohen Gadol who's appointed after you were sentenced is not connected to you. But the Kohen Gadol who was appointed after you killed, but before you were sentenced, he's also held reliable, or he's also held responsible for you, because he should have davened at the time of your sentence. Amar by Naktina, we have a tradition, Nigmar Dino Vameis. Let's say the guy's din is finished, and then he dies before he makes it to the Yer Miklat. As we'll see in a second, if you're living in the Yer Miklat and you die, we said, V'nash Shama, you have to run there. Sham Teik V'ra. So if you die in the Yer Miklat, and the Kohen Gadol is still the Kohen Gadol, even after you die, you can't leave. They're going to bury you in the Yer Miklat. But let's say this guy, who is Nigmar Dino, he's supposed to go to the Yer Miklat now, and the Kohen Gadol doesn't die. Nigmar Dino, the Kohen Gadol is alive, and then he dies. What happens to him? So one can argue, well, he's not in the Yer Miklat, now bury him wherever you want. No. Once the Nigmar Dino, he's supposed to go to the Yer Miklat, we take his bones to the Yer Miklat, his body to the Yer Miklat, and we bury it there. Because he has to sit in the land until the Kohen Gadol dies. Literally, that means he needs to sit in the land, he needs to live there. Figuratively, it says, so we're going to bury him. Tana, similarly, Kodem Shemesh Kohen Gadol, if he dies before the Kohen Gadol dies, then we bury him in the Yer Miklat. When the Kohen Gadol dies, anybody who's buried in the Yer Miklat gets moved, if they want seemingly, gets moved to where they should be buried. So it must have been fascinating. There must have been mayhem when the Kohen Gadol dies. That means all the rotzchim are going free. All the people that are buried there are being taken out and brought to their burial places. Wow. It actually sounds to me, it doesn't sound like it's even a
sounds like a happy day.
It sounds it sounds like it's maybe even a command. It's not clear, but it sounds like the Torah is actually commanding us. So you have to take the bodies out of the Yer Miklat, and you need to go bury them in their family plots.
Death being like a sad day, it turns into like a major happy day.
Again, depending for who. Except for the rotzchim, and except for the mother of the Kohen Gadol. Yeah.
Right, she saves on the food.
Nigmar Dino, listen to this.
Saves on the food.
Nigmar Dino V'nase Kohen Ben Gushim and Chalutza. We'll end with this. This is very interesting. All this stuff is interesting. But what happens now? The Kohen Gadol doesn't die. But let's say there's a Kohen Gadol, and we find out one day that his mother was a grusha, or his mother was a chalutza. So what does that mean? That means he's not fit to be the Kohen Gadol. So what do we say now? Now there's two opposite extremes that we could say. Either we could say, well, the day that we find out, going forward, he's no longer Kohen Gadol, i.e. he dies today, and therefore everybody who's in the Yer Miklat goes free. Or we could say that really he was never a Kohen Gadol, and therefore retroactively anybody who was placed into an Yer Miklat from the time that he was a Kohen Gadol, it's as if they were placed into an Yer Miklat without ever having a Kohen Gadol, and therefore they're forever. So it's two opposite extremes. Either this guy finds out he's not a real Kohen Gadol, everybody goes free, or he finds out he's not a real Kohen Gadol, and anybody who's been placed in the Yer Miklat for the last 30 years has no way to ever get out. Fascinating. Zok the Gemara, which one is it? Take a guess. Machlokes. Pligi bar Rav Ami v'Rav Yitzchak Nafka. Chad amar Mesa Kahuna v'Chad amar Batla Kahuna. Now again, we don't see Allah l'maisa all the time, but it sounds like, again, if you just look at that Gemara, I always try to remind you, that Yud. If you look at the Batla Kahuna, there's a little Yud there. The Yud goes to the Ein Mishpat Ner Mitzvah, which quotes the Rambam and quotes the Shulchan Aruch. Right by the word Batla, there's a little Yud to the right of Batla. That Yud goes to the top right of the page, the Ein Mishpat Ner Mitzvah, which is usually which quotes the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch. So usually, not always, but usually when you see a little letter like that, by a machlokes or just by something in the Gemara, that's how the Rambam / Shulchan Aruch paskins halacha l'maisa. So it sounds like, again, I don't know halacha l'maisa, but it sounds like based on this, that we would actually say that Batla Kahuna, and if he would die, then everybody would be stuck in the Yer Miklat forever. Dr. Gemara, Lema bepluked Rabbi Zev Rabbi Yeshua kamifli. You think this is Gishmak? We're going to tie it to another machlokes. There's another machlokes. Ditnan. Forget about this case for a second. There was a Kohen that was sitting there shechting korbanos, and he finds out after shechting 100 korbanos that his mother was a ben gusha ben chalutza. Therefore, what? Therefore, he's a halal, and therefore he's not allowed to do the avoda. So what happens? Obviously, he cannot shecht any more korbanos. But what happens to all of the korbanos that he already shechted? Everything that he shechted before is pasul. For Rabbi Yeshua machshir, he says everything that he shechted before is kosher. So let's plug this in for a second outside. If you say everything he shechted before is pasul, what does that mean? Who do you hold like? You hold that when you find out you're ben gusha ben chalutza, what happens? Retroactively, batla kahuna, and therefore all of the things you did before now are going to be batel. It's going to be not accepted. If it's as if you die, so then in Echanami, everything you did until now was fine, and going forward, it's going to be a problem. Man di'amar Mesa k'Rebbi Yeshua, man di'amar Badla k'Rebbi Eliezer. Says Gemara, Aliba d'Rebbi Eliezer kuli amalo pligi, ki pligi aliba d'Rebbi Yeshua. Man di'amar Mesa k'Rebbi Yeshua, uman di'amar Badla, ad kan lo kam Rebbi Yeshua hasam, dechsiv beirach Hashem, barech Hashem chilo, fol yadav tirtzeh, filu chalal and shabo, aval hacha, filu Rebbi Yeshua modeh. If you read Rashi, he explains as follows. He explains for sure, one needs to explain that Rabbi Eliezer, who says that when the guy is shachting korbanos and he finds out that he's not a kohen, that he's a halal, if you say that all of the korbanos that he did before are bad, for sure that means that he holds across the board that it's Batla Kahuna, retroactively everything is gone, and therefore the equivalent of this case would be that everybody who was sent into the Yer Miklat from beforehand, for sure has no way out. Now we tried to prove that what? Rabbi Yeshua, who says that all of the korbanos that he did before are kosher, he must hold that it's as if the Kohen Gadol dies, and therefore anybody in the Yer Miklat for sure can go free. Now the Gemara is suggesting that even within Rabbi Yeshua, one can suggest, not for sure, but one can suggest that he would agree in the case of the Yer Miklat that Batla Kahuna and everybody's stuck in the Yer Miklat. Then why, in the case of the Korbanos, if in fact we're saying retroactively he was never a Kohen, why in the case of the Korbanos do we say that any of the Korbanos that he did beforehand are actually kosher? It's based on a diuk in a pasuk. Because the pasuk says, Barech Hashem Chelo, and he's learning it to mean, Hashem blesses the Chelo. Who's the Chelo? The Chalal. The Kohen is found to be a Chalal. Upoal Yadav Tirtzeh. And the poel, that which he did with his yadav, will still be yirtzeh. So one can suggest that Rabbi Yeshua agrees that when you find out that you're a halal, Batla Kahuna, going retroactively. Therefore he'll agree, again this is a suggestion, therefore he'll agree that by the case of the Yer Miklat, Batla Kahuna, and everybody's stuck in the Yer Miklat forever. Why, by the case of the Korbanos, does he say that if you do and you find out, then all the Korbanos you did already before were kosher? That's an exception. That's based on the pasuk, Upoal Yadav Tirtzeh, that even when you're halal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will accept your Korbanos.